for entertainment in Jamaica. So that was, it was just a thought. So when I came back to America and I told my family, my mom in particular, that I wanted to model, she was like, "You got to be pretty to model." I'm like, I don't know how to take that, especially as
And
a
you are.
14-year-old girl. But well, thank you, thank you. But thank God I was raised with my aunt and my grandma in Jamaica. And up until that point, I actually had a lot of resentment about not being raised with my mom and my dad. But at that point, something clicked. And I was like, you know what? They made the best decision for me at the time when they sent me to Jamaica to live with extended family. And they did it because they wanted me to have culture. They wanted me to be safe. They wanted me to be in an environment where I could thrive, and in an environment where that was positive. And at the time, I didn't see it. But when my mom made that comment, I was like, like now I get it. Her confidence wasn't that high. In my eyes and a lot of people's eyes, she was beautiful, and I felt like I looked like her. So if she thought that way about myself and herself, that kind of tells you where her confidence was, or at least at that time. But that didn't deter me. In fact, it kind of lit a fire under me because I felt like I had what it takes to shoot my shot, in the industry. And when I turned 18, that's exactly what I did. So I started looking up castings. I started auditioning. At that time, I was back in the US, but living in Orlando. And Orlando didn't have a huge industry as well. There was a lot of things going on for kids and Disney and people who are retired, because it's more of like a vacation slash retirement community. But what did or where did have a lot of work was Miami, and that was about a 4-hour commute. So I used to go down to Miami to go on the castings.
Wow.
And at first I was not getting booked. I didn't wear my hair the way most girls at the time wore their hair. I wasn't really doing my makeup. So I grew tired quickly of getting dressed up for auditions all the time and not getting picked. And I had to start paying attention. I had to start looking at the people who were getting booked and how they dressed, how they wore their hair, how they did their makeup. And I started doing the same thing. And things things like just started snowballing really quickly. Things started snowballing really quickly. And that's a nugget, y'all. Write it down. It's all about your environment. A lot of times we have this drive and we're doing all the right things. We're planting all the right seeds, but in soil that's not fertile, and that's not gonna get you anywhere. It's just gonna
Mm.
get you nowhere fast, actually. So if I had the same drive, the same looks, the same talent, being in the same city and around the same people that I was, it would have been harder, way harder. So I knew I had to go to where the people were who were getting the results that I wanted. And that was Miami. And when I got to Miami, like my whole world changed. Imagine this young girl coming from Brooklyn, coming from Jamaica, coming from the hood side of Orlando. And now overnight, I'm in Miami. I'm on South Beach. I'm interacting with celebrities, multimillionaires. I'm partying with all the people that I've seen, on TV, people buying champagne, and everybody in VIP get a bottle of champagne. The champagne bottles go for 500, 600. I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. So overnight, I now had access to people I thought I would never meet in my life. And it's all because I put myself in the right environment. So when I was in Miami, I remember I'm just hanging out with my girls and starting actually booking big gigs, and at the time it was a lot of music videos, and you name it, I worked with them, all the A-listers in the music industry. And I remember one of my girls saying, or they used to just always come to me for advice. And this time I'm like in my early 20s, and they used to always come to me for dating advice. I don't know why me, why me? I just moved here, but they've been there all their life. But I was the go-to girl when it came to advice for dating. And I remember one of my girlfriends, she's on a date with a guy. Her phone bill is about to be off tomorrow. She's like, I know he has money, but I'm afraid to ask him, but then my phone's gonna be off tomorrow. And I'm like, why are you afraid? Like, I never got it. I never got it. Like, you'll get dressed up, you'll go pay for a babysitter, you take time out your day, out of your night to go schedule dinner with a guy. But if you need something, you're afraid to ask them. I'm like, they're not afraid to ask you for what they want. So, so
Yeah.
I guess I just gave them that confidence, the girls in my circle, that confidence to just shoot their shot and ask for what they're worth and stop playing with their time. And jokingly, one of them said, "Girl, you should write a book." And that's where the book was birthed. That's where the book was birthed. And I remember writing one page and I forgot about it, because I was like, okay, what am I gonna name this book? I'm like, I don't really have a name yet, but I have an idea. And I wrote one page, I just forgot about it. It was a thought. It was a thought, just something for me and the girls. And I remember outgrowing Miami really quick because I'm like, I don't want to just do men's magazines and music videos. I want to do more commercials, TV, movies. So I was like, I got to go to LA, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And LA, well, like at that time I've never been to LA. I didn't know really what it looked like in person. I may have known one person who lived there and my friend, and he was like, well, if you make it to LA, you can crash on my couch. He didn't know who he was playing with, girl. I'm about to get to LA.
Ain't said nothing but a word.
Yeah, so I remember one day, okay. I remember one day, I picked out the date on my calendar. I said, when this date comes, I'm gonna drive to LA. I'm gonna pack my stuff up and I'm gonna take that drive. And I Googled how long the drive would take me, and it would have been about 36 hours. That's a good 3 days. I had about $500. I would have had to use 300 for gas, so I had 200 to make it happen. And I remember two of my girlfriends said they wanted to come to LA with me. So when that date came and I called them up, girl, you ready? They're like, how much money we have?
Mm-hmm.
How long is the drive? What if the car break down? What if this happen? And I'm like, y'all thinking too far ahead. Y'all about to scare me out of this. But I knew it was a feeling in me saying it's time to go. It was
Mm.
a feeling in me saying, like, you've outgrown this scene, you've outgrown this circle. It's more for you and it's not right here. And I
Mm.
find myself going through those spurts every 5 to 10 years. So
Mm.
know as you grow that you're gonna have to do a lot of shedding of habits, shedding of people, shedding of environments. That's a nugget. Shedding,
Mm.
honey. You got to shed. And you're going to miss the people who were in your circle, but you have to realize they no longer serve you. And I don't say that in a bad way or a materialistic way, but if you want to grow, it's impossible to grow in the same environment, with the same structure, with the same people, doing the same thing. So you're going to have to change things. And a lot of times that may be friends, that may be family, that may be jobs, that may be careers. And you're going to have to be okay with that and feel the emotion, allow the emotion to pass through, and just know that missing is a part of the growing process. That's a nugget.
Yeah.
And you don't have to separate yourself forever, but a season of separation is definitely necessary. So know that everybody who started the journey with you can't come everywhere with you. They can't take the whole journey with you. You're probably gonna have to stop up off some. You're gonna have to stop at some truck stops, and let some people off sometimes on that journey.
Mm-hmm.
And you can come back and get them later on, but you gotta fill you up first. You have to get what you need first before you can start distributing and making deposits in everybody else. Because think about it, if every stop you're gassing up everybody, if every stop you're feeding everybody, then it's going to take 10 times the amount of time to get to your destination. So some people are going to be mad along the way, but you always have to think about the end goal and how you can serve them the best by filling you up first. So I remember taking that drive to LA, and what most people didn't know at the time is I had a daughter. You know, my daughter was pretty young at the time, and like my plan wasn't to leave my daughter. You know, I'm going all the way to Los Angeles, California, and I know what it felt like not being raised with my biological parents. So I'm like, I would never do that to my daughter. You know, but I remember when the day came on that calendar, and I'm packing up my stuff in my car, and I'm packing up her car seat, and I'm packing up her clothes, and I drive to the family's house ready to pick her up. It was a showdown on that lawn, okay? Because they weren't trying to let her go. They weren't trying to let her go, and my whole world flipped upside down that day because I'm like, I know I got to leave. Like it's this overwhelming feeling in me, and I've learned to listen to that feeling over and over, and that feeling never led me wrong. And I'm like, today is the day. Like, I can't wait for my homegirls. I can't wait till tomorrow. I can't wait till they have money saved up. I can't wait till I have all the pieces of the puzzle in place. And I don't know how to explain that feeling, but I've learned to trust that feeling. And I call that feeling God, you know? So
Yeah.
every time I feel that, every time, and it's not a voice, it's just this overwhelming feeling when I think about something and I can't let that thought go, I know I have to do it, you know?
Mm,
So and that's the nugget, like trust your intuition, especially women. That's our gift. That's our superpower. You don't need to explain how you know something. And a lot of times, people in your circle who aren't as gifted or who aren't as intuitive, they'll try to say, well, why do you feel that? But explain it, or what made
mm,
you pick that, or what made you talk to that person? Like, you don't have to explain anything to anyone. They will see the results later.
mhm,
So I see so many women second guessing themselves all the time. They want to do this, but their mom said this. They want to do this, but their sister said this. They want to do this, but their husband said that. And I'm like, but what does God say? What does your
mhm,
feelings say? What do you
mhm,
want? So don't explain yourself, because like on paper, half the things don't make sense.
mhm,
On paper, most of the things don't make sense. But if you keep doing what makes sense, you're gonna keep getting the same results you've been getting. So trust your feelings. So that was a tough day because now I had to make the decision. Well, you know, I, I still just go along with my plan. Oh, this is crazy. You're making erratic moves. This kid is safe right here around all the family. You just want to go pack up and bring her to Los Angeles, California to, be on TV. And she can barely talk. Like, who's gonna watch her? Who's gonna babysit her? What are you gonna do for like consistent work? And I didn't have any of those answers. I didn't have any of those answers, but what I did know is how it would end and how my life would end if I stayed.
mm,
Because I saw the results of everybody who stayed, you know? I saw the whole pattern, just going to work, coming back home, just racing to the weekend so they can relax, watch some TV. Like they may be able to take a vacation for 2 weeks once a year. I'm like, that
mhm,
ain't my life. Like,
mhm,
that is not my life. Like, I don't call that living. Like, why am I here? I'm here
mhm,
to be abundant, to try new things, to travel the world, to meet new people, to help people beyond my community, beyond my circle, to go out there and explore. Like, it's not about just going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home. 40 hours, 40 years until I physically can't do it anymore. And so I was faced with a decision: get the results that all of them have, or shoot your shot, you know? So it was the toughest decision of my life that I had to make that morning, but I chose to leave my daughter in a safe environment with my family where everybody loved her. She was the first kid, the first grand, the first great grand. And I took that drive. I took that drive. I felt like the best thing for her was to stay until I figured it out, but I knew I couldn't stay. I didn't know what would happen once I took that drive, but I knew what would happen if I stayed. So I gassed up my car with my $500 and I took that drive. And I took the drive by myself. I remember going through Texas. And I slept one time, and then I drove 20 hours straight. I drove 20 hours straight, and Texas was crazy because there were no street lights. I remember just seeing a lot of semi trucks driving, and it was so dark. And usually, when people are driving away from semi trucks, I'm driving close to them so I can get some light. But I made it, and I remember so many things were going through my head. But once I started that journey, I couldn't turn back. Physically and spiritually, metamorphically speaking, I couldn't turn back. So I remember getting to LA, and a few days after I got to LA, I'm shopping for books, you know? And I remember meeting somebody in the bookstore, and we were talking about tennis and coming to LA, and you know like what are my plans now that I'm here. And turns out this person is James Cannon, you know, Nick Cannon's father. I'm like, wow, look at God. So when you put yourself in the right environment, you're gonna meet the right people. So that's a nugget. If
Write
I
it
went
down.
to LA and Mhm. If I went to LA and my main priority was just, you know, partying and clubbing, then I would have never met this man. But my priority was building and getting ahead and reading and learning. And you know, the time met the opportunity. And I remember him asking me, and James Cannon happens to be Nick Cannon's father, you know? So so I remember him asking me, "Sweetie, what did you come to LA for?" And I said, "Modeling and acting." And he said, "Well, it's a lot of people and a lot of women who come to LA for modeling and acting. And do you have a backup plan, maybe writing movies or scripts or books or something?" And the past hood trauma kicked in where I'm like, oh, I remember when my mom said I ain't pretty, you know, my mom didn't believe in me. And I remember like thinking, oh, he don't think I'm gonna make it. He don't think I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna show him. And before I opened up my mouth and said something stupid like that, I kind of had to humble myself. And I said, if this man raised Nick Cannon, who turned out to be super successful, maybe I should just shut my mouth and listen. And that's what it did. So he asked, have you ever thought about writing books or movies or scripts? And I said, well, I had this one idea about writing this book, you know, about a year ago, but mm. And he said, what's the name of it? Or what's gonna be the name of it? And I was like, I can't tell this man about this book. He gonna say I'm crazy. And I was like, A Gold Digger's Guide: How to Get What You Want Without Giving It Up. And he paused for a minute, and then he said, finish it. It's going to be a bestseller. And to have somebody have that confidence in me after just meeting me, I was like, okay, let me start it. And then I start 1, 2 days, and the fire kind of go down, or I kind of don't remember what else I should write about. And every day he stayed on me, calling me. Is it done yet? I'm excited to read it. Is it done yet? I was like, okay, now I got to finish this book. But you need those people who believe in you at the times you don't believe in yourself, you know? So that's a nugget. You got to find mentors. And I remember Lee earlier saying your mentors don't always have to be, you know, somebody who's physically in your life. I have thousands of mentors. I've read thousands of books. I think about people who have the results I want. I read their books. I buy their courses. I go to their seminars, their workshops. And in the beginning, and a lot of times it was the least affordable seats, and I'm way in the back, you know, and I'll never get to meet them this event. But that doesn't stop you from absorbing that information. There's so many interviews that people have out there on YouTube for free. You can start listening to them, put the pieces of the puzzle together, and don't just listen to it where it's in one ear and out the other. Like listen to it in a way where you feel like you would be teaching it. So when you think about it in that perspective, then you start writing things down, you really start taking notes, and you really start remembering things. So you have to have mentors in any capacity. So I remember I locked myself in my place, and I just kept writing. I kept writing. Every time I felt like I was stuck, I called one of my girls. I said, what's something I told you throughout the years that kind of stood out to you, or that you think was odd, or that you think wouldn't work for me, but it did work. And they used to remind me of little stories. So I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3 more pages, 4 more pages, 5 more pages. Before I knew it, I had over 200 pages. I'm like, oh my God, this is like a real book. And I showed it to him. I went to the print shop and I printed it out and I gave it to him. And he's like, oh my God, like, this is good. This is good. Now you got to get it published. And now you got to, get marketing. You have to do marketing, get it on shows. And I was like, publish. Okay, where am I gonna start? He handed me a thick old book. I feel like it was like 300 to 400 pages thick, and it was how to self-publish. And I was like, oh my God, I just finished something I thought was impossible for me to finish. And now I got this whole other project on how to publish the book I just finished that I thought I could even finish. I'm like, okay, this is a lot. This is a lot. But once again, he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. So I went through the steps to just become myself, to become a self-publishing author. So I actually started my own publishing company, and I now had, my book cover done, my barcode, and ready to find a printer and things of that nature. And I asked him, so should I reach out to local TV shows and local radio stations now? And he said, think bigger, sweetie. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, reach out to Oprah, Dr. Phil. It was Tyra Banks' show at the time, too. And he was like, yep. I was like, oh my God, this man must think the world of me. I'm like, oh my God. All right, all right, all right. Shut your mouth. Do it. Listen. So I reached out to those shows. I remember Tyra Banks' show reaching back out to me, but then their show came off air. So I didn't get to shoot or be interviewed by them. And I remember being in LA one day and driving, and I saw this sign for Paramount Studios, and I was living right across the street from Paramount Studios. I'm like, look at God. I literally walk out of my little apartment and I look up and I see the sign, literally, that says, if you want to come on the Dr. Phil show as a audience member to view the show for free, then call this number. So I did. And when I went in and I sat down and I saw how close I was to the stage and to Dr. Fitz, slide him a letter, about my book.
Mm.
So I called them again the next week and got the tickets again. And this time the book wasn't in book form. I still had to figure out that part. The book wasn't in book form, but I had to I just printed out the first page of the book and I had a handwritten note on it and I folded it up and I had it in my hand the whole show, trying to strategize who am I going to give this thing to and what are they going to say and are they even going to take it? And I remember on the way out, I passed it to one of the workers and I said, hey, can you give this to the producers? And they kind of tossed it on the tables and it was like, yeah. I was like, that ain't going nowhere, but I shot my shot. And I walked out, went on with my life. And about a week and a half later, I got a call saying, hey, this is so-and-so from the Dr. Phil show. We got your letter and want to know if you want to be on the show. And my heart is racing. Like, it was unbelievable. I was like, oh my God, the book isn't even finished yet. Like, do I tell them, like, give me 6 months, to to actually get a real cover, get it edited, get it on a website? Or do I just tell them, yeah, I'm ready to go? And I told them, yeah, I'm ready to go. And thank God, like, I had so many mentors in my life at that point. I remember James, he introduced me to another woman who is like my godmother now, and she took me under her wings, and she came on the show with me, and she really negotiated everything on my behalf, and it was amazing. I went on the show before I was ready, technically, and that's a nugget. You can't wait until you are ready. Write that down. All the time we have the plans in our head, we need to do this first, and I'm gonna get my degree first, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that. And when the opportunity comes to you that it's the opportunity you were waiting for, you back out from it or you shy away from it because you feel like you're not ready. That's okay. You're not going to be ready at the time, but you're going to get ready and you're going to fumble and you're going to fail along the way. And people going to laugh at you and people going to talk about you. And that's okay. That's all a part of the process. Like people think we're going to go through success unscathed. No, stuff's going to happen. You're going to file for bankruptcy, you're gonna get this repo, you're gonna get the eviction sometimes. Your credit score may go down, like you may get sick along the way, your kids may be mad at you along the way, you may get a divorce along the way, but like it's a part of the process. Like we want all the pieces of the puzzle together before we start moving. Success doesn't work that way. Like failure isn't permanent. And failure isn't the opposite of success. It's actually a part of it. So stop tiptoeing your life or tiptoeing through life. Like, and know that you're gonna fail. The faster you fail, the quicker you move forward. People don't understand that and they just stay at that one failure or what they see as an upcoming failure and they don't want to take that leap and they just sit there, you know, but it's in that failing process that you unlock something to get to the next level. But people don't understand that. So I told them yes to the show. I went on the show and the show changed my whole life because here I was, this little girl from, you know, New York, then Jamaica, then Orlando, then you know, men's magazines and music videos, and now overnight I was a published author who had eyes on me from all over the world in my early 20s. And that's when I became a coach because women from all over the world reached out to me for more advice. Like, I've seen you on a Dr. Phil show. I heard about your book and I want to know, can you answer this question? Or what would you do if you were in this situation? And I spent like a year just typing away and answering all these questions for free, you know, because it's like I was just helping women. I'm all about my ladies. And one day I said, well, one day I said, I wonder if I come up with a coaching rate sheet, would people pay? And I came up with my coaching rate sheet and people started paying. People were sending cash from France, from different countries. And I'm like, oh my God, this can be a real business. And I didn't know what a life coach was at the time, but it was just me taking the incremental incremental steps. And nowadays people say, okay, I'm a life coach. Let me go write a book so I have something credible, you know, like, or let me start doing workshops because that will bring an income for this. But for me, it was just like a natural progression where I wrote the book. The book landed me on the Dr. Phil show. And once you land a big show, then all the smaller shows are way easier to book. As a matter of fact, they come to you. So at first I was thinking, oh, let me go to the smaller shows first because it's easier for them to say yes and then work my way up. No, nugget, start at the top. Start at the top. You may reach out to 100 people at the top. If only one opened the door for you, like the rest is history. So start at the top. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. So yeah, so I wrote the book. The book opened the door for me to become a coach, and then it was women who wanted to meet me in different cities and actually see me physically, and I started my Design Your Life workshops, you know. So and now I just look back at my life, I'm like, wow, what if I didn't take that drive? What if I didn't gas up my car? So the first 2 years I was in LA, and I was only in LA for about 2 years. It wasn't as I took that leap of faith, a lot of things just started snowballing. And a lot of times it takes you doing one big move, one bold move to knock a lot of the parts in place. So it really, I would say that's one of the biggest pivotal moments of my life and of my business and of my career, is just listening to that feeling on that lawn that day and moving.
Hmm.
And moving. A lot of times we don't listen when the door of opportunity is closing. Sometimes you got to sit down 5, 10, 15 years and wait for that opportunity or a great opportunity to come around again. And sometimes it never comes around again. And sometimes you have to sit and watch somebody else live out your dream and live out your plan. And let me tell you, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. They say when God give people ideas, he doesn't only give it to one person. So if you don't move on it, you'll see somebody else with your idea moving right past you in the next 3, 4, 5 years. So you got to move. So that's where I started as a modeling actress, and that is what brought me into being an author and a life coach. And presently today, like I've been super blessed. I haven't had to work for anybody else, like in a job sense, since I took that drive. Y'all don't want to know how many years ago that drive was. You know, I'm gonna tell my age. I'm gonna tell my age if I tell y'all what year I took that drive. But my daughter is now in college. Okay, that's how long ago I haven't had to work. So when you feel that thing, you move. So my book was my first stream of residual income, and that is what rich and wealthy people know that the masses don't know. Like, you're not gonna work a 9 to 5 and make millions. You're not gonna work a 9 to 5 and become financially free. It's impossible. If you're trading your time for money, you really don't have your time. So yeah, it's just remarkable. So I get to wake up every day, do exactly what I want to do, go to where I want to go. I've been to over 40 countries, you know. So it's all about knowing what you want, writing down what you want, like getting actual pictures of what you want and putting it up in a place where you can see it. It's about tasting the dream, the things that you want. Try to go experience it for a day. It can be a car, it can be a house. Like, you can go to a showing of a $1 million mansion. You can go test drive that car. You can go jogging in the neighborhood you want to live in. So try to think of how you can get close to your life. Go in those environments, take a picture and put it up where you can see it every single day. People will think, oh, child, like goal boards are child's play, or goal boards changed my life. Goal boards changed my life. And that's every year I do my workshops, my vision board parties, still, because it's all about writing the vision, making it plain, putting it somewhere where you can see it, and doing one thing off of that to-do list that will get you to your end goal every single day. So now I just teach people, because I do not believe that I lived a life. I know I was put here to change other people's lives, you know. And my whole mission is to just teach people how to become financially free. So I do that through my books, through my workshops, through my one-on-one coaching, through my courses. And I would say this is the first time I've done an interview in a long time, and probably the only interview I've done at 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Usually from 5 to 9, that's just my time of, I call it vamping. So I visualize, I affirm, I meditate, I pray in the morning. So that's my vamp. And then I work out. So I don't even look at my phone to answer a message, to do an interview, or anything of that nature before 9 o'clock. But when Lee reached out, I remembered Lee. I remembered Lee because Lee has heart. She has drive. And those two combinations are powerful, and it's unmatched. Like, if you have those two things, the sky's the limit. And I saw a lot of Lee in myself. I remember when she reached out to me and saying that she was writing the book, her book, you know, Bae. And then she actually finished it, and now she has her academy, you know, and she's consistent, you know, she's consistent. So when I see women like that, men too, but I love my ladies a little bit more, who are driven and they have their own goals and they actually reach out, then I show up, I make time, because a lot of people don't reach out. A lot of people watch, they'll like my stuff, they'll consume my stuff, but they don't reach out for help. And you'd be surprised how much I'm willing to help. So I'm just glad to be here. If you guys have any questions, or if there's anything I didn't cover, let me know.
That was so incredible. Oh
Can you
my
hear me, Lee?
gosh. I have a whole notebook full of your
All right.
gems. Thank you guys. Listen, ladies, ask Miss Baje a question, please, right now, because she is here during her vamping session. Y'all, please ask her a question before I call y'all out. Go ahead.
I have a question, and thank you so much for talking to us. Um, I was just curious because you had said how you felt just in relation to your mom and seeing later on in life how they made the right decision for you. I was just curious about how that went with you and your daughter, because what the initial struggle was with that.
So my biggest fear when I went to LA and my daughter stayed, with the family, because she was really young. I'm like, I don't even know when I'm gonna be able to come back. I don't
Mm,
know if she's gonna remember me when I come back. That was the scariest part.
mm,
And thank God it worked out. When I went to LA, I was able to make enough money, whether through auditions or the book, to come back every month and visit her and spend a week. So I was living a bi-coastal life for those first 2 years. So it worked out, and I made enough money to pay her school fees and keep her fed and keep her comfortable. So that worked out. And by the time she was, I would say, around 6, that's when I moved to Atlanta and I got her full time. And that was also scary. And I wasn't ready for that. I was like, oh my God, I have a whole human being that I'm responsible for 100% by myself. And I remember the same fears coming up from that day when I drove to LA. I was like, what if I get sick? What if something happened? And I remember knowing that was the voice of fear. So she's been with me since I was 6, and later on I homeschooled her because I wanted her to not be programmed. I wanted her to not be programmed. You have to think about your children, what type of life you want them to live. If you want them to be financially free, if you want them to make the calls on their own life, it's almost impossible to drop them into society and learn the things that 99% of the world know. And now when they're 18, you're like, okay, go be financially free. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I pulled her out of normal school. Believe she was about 11 or so, and it turned out to be, I feel like it's a great decision. Like it. In fact, she resented that part for years. She wanted to be around her friends because now she knew what friends felt like, right? But I knew that I had to think about the long term, and I had to take the risk thinking or knowing she'd probably be upset at me for probably the first few years, but she'd be able to live the life like she wants to, or live her life like she wants to later on. So at 14, she started her lash business where she was selling lashes online. She came up with the name of her company herself. She designed her logo, got her business cards made, built her whole website herself. She found her vendors overseas. I financed the ordering of the stuff, but she ordered her stuff, made her social media pages, and started promoting and making sales. Now she has her lash suite where she's doing people lashes. And I don't feel like if I had her in regular school, that would have happened. That would happen. And it happened so quickly. So I felt like I made the best decision. And yeah, I felt like I made the best decision. So our relationship is great now, is great now. So and I think it's because I was able to be bi-coastal in the beginning. So I wasn't just in LA for 2 years, not seeing her at all. I hope that answers the question.
yes.
Yes, thank you. And it also affirms for me too, because I homeschool my children and it's not
All
easy,
right
but
now.
like you said,
Wow.
it's definitely worth the time and the investment. So thank you so
It
much.
it is. You're welcome.
Great question, Denise. I love what you said about the environment. You mentioned that a few times and how your environment can keep you stuck. Even just hearing your family's, opinions. We hold our family, especially our parents, up to, they're the authorities. And so sometimes we don't realize that they're speaking fear into us just based off of their own thoughts. And I love how you were able to break out of that, because I think some of us don't even realize that's happening, that we're listening to this person, and it isn't that they don't love us or whatever, but they're speaking their insecurities to us. And now we're insecure. We don't feel like we can do anything. And that just keeps us stuck. So I'm just glad you mentioned how sometimes you do have to leave the environment, even if it's your friends, your coworkers, your spouse. Not saying leave your spouse, but you just have to leave their mentality because you want something better for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yes, I know a lot of us go through that. How did you you don't even seem like you have any fear. Like how do you be so fearless? Is it just like, I don't want to regret not doing it, and that so you shoot your shot every time, or what?
It's funny that you say that. I was just having this conversation with a family member the other day, and she said, I think what it is I don't see risk the same way as most people see risk, you know? And I would say my mom passed away when I was 19 years old, and that shifted the way I looked at the world, because I'm like, wow, you can really do all the right things and be a good person and do what society tells you you need to do to get ahead, and you do those things and you still die at 60 years old with nothing.
Mhm.
And I didn't want that for
Right.
my life, and I didn't want that for my daughter. So one, seeing my mom, just passing away at 60 years old, and that was a retirement age then. And I remember her being excited to turn 60 so she could so she could so she can take the bus for 25 cents instead of $1. You know, those were the type of dreams I was surrounded by. I was like, I don't want to live like this. I want to live an abundant life. I want to be free. I want to be able to help people. I want to be able to be a blessing. I don't want to just work and struggle until I die. So that really showed me that you can do all the right things and still not live the life that you want, not be able to contribute to society. And I had to ask myself every time I take a risk, I'm like, what's the worst that could happen?
Hmm.
What's the worst that could happen? And I think about that thing, and it was like, okay, maybe you could go bankrupt, maybe you can lose this, maybe this person won't talk to you, maybe you could die. Maybe you can die.
Hmm.
And for me, all the time I'm ready to do something is die one day. Okay. Y'all gonna die one day. So what are you doing until then? Are you tiptoeing or are you actually living? I want to live an epic life. And I made that choice on purpose. So I live a epic life. If I go today, I don't have any regrets. Every day I wake up and I do what I want to do. The things I write down, I go and accomplish them, because if anything were to happen and I can't do those things anymore, I know that I did it. So stop being afraid. The worst that can happen in any scenario is you're gonna die. Newsflash. You're gonna die anyway. So you guys have to do what you want, and do what you need to do, and do what you were called to do, and stop being afraid. So I think that took a lot of the fear out of me. And there are certain things I do feel apprehension about, but I don't let it stop me, you know? I don't let it stop me. I know that fear is temporary, fear is in my head. And the sooner I do those things, the sooner the fear goes away. But it's when you don't do the thing that you want to do that the fear perpetuates, and it's like right there, and it starts all over again when you think about that thing. So if you want to get over your fear, do the thing you fear.
Yeah. And then you see it really wasn't that bad, that you were just hyping it up in your head.
Yep.
Awesome. How you also mentioned, and if anybody has a question, please interject. Oh, Sandra asked, how can we get in touch with you? How can we, because I know you have your workshops and everything like that. What's the best way for them to, you know, follow you and connect with
Okay.
you?
So two ways you can get a hold of me on my brand new website. It's revamped and I haven't really announced it yet, but it's missbaje.com. So MISSBAJE. So you guys get to see it first. And all my contact info is there. And I'm on Instagram. That is my social media of choice. And it's a bunch of fake pages out there of me, but my page is Miss Baje. So the @ and MISSBAJE. And then I started the Baje brand. So it's at THEBAJE brand. So Miss Baje and the Baje brand. And Baje sounds like the color, but it's spelled BAJE. So those are the ways you guys can get a hold of me. And I started a membership and it's only like $5 on Instagram. So if you go to my main Instagram at Miss Baje and you hit that subscription, you can pay $5 a month and I'll give you guys behind the scene content, stuff I normally wouldn't say or talk about on my main Instagram. I put it there, health tips and things of that nature. So subscribe, stay in the loop.
Yes, yes. And Rob says you have a nice website. You have a beautiful website. It's giving luxury. I love the new
Yes,
website.
yes. Hey, Rob. Mr. Jazzy Jazz, I see you. Thanks for the support, sir.
Awesome, awesome. All right, ladies. Well, I would like to really truly thank you so much, Babe. You don't know how much you have changed so many lives, and particularly mine. And I just literally remember standing there reading that book and being like so empowered and full of fire. The fire that it's like is radiating off of you. And I know every single person on here is like, I gotta go get it because she went and got it. You know, of all the things that could have stopped you, you did it. Everybody has an excuse for this and this and this and this and this. And it's like listening to your story, it's like, girl, you ain't got no excuses. You know what I'm saying? You have to either go get it or you're gonna let your life pass you by. And yes, go get her book right now. All of y'all go get her book. She has multiple books, and it's crazy because that was your first book. And
Yep.
it was a game changer. So that's just really inspiring too. And I really just want to thank you so much for being here and thank all the ladies for being here as well. I truly appreciate that.
Thank you for inviting me, Lee, and thanks for reaching out. I never forgot about you. And from the moment we sat down, I believe it was at the Four Seasons.
Yes,
Four
yes, yes.
Seasons, like I was like, it's something about her. Yeah, it's something about her. And I want us to sit down and talk soon and see how we can collaborate because you still got it.
And you still got it, ma'am. So you know, baddie bosses link up. She is the epitome of a baddie boss, you guys. Obviously, she is the epitome of a baddie boss. To me, a baddie boss is a woman who she understands her power. That's what you always talked about is your power as a woman, as that feminine energy is powerful, and it's for all the women on here. It's important to understand the gifts you all have naturally. She talked about intuition and that being God and letting God speak to you however it comes. It can be you being on here today. That is God speaking to you and telling you something. So when you get that energy and you get that momentum and that vibration, go towards it. Don't run away from it. And you never know where it can lead you. So just want to leave with that, you guys. And again, thank you, Miss Baje Fletcher. You are that girl. And I hope you have an amazing day. And I would love to speak with you further.
Awesome, awesome. I would say part 2 is coming, and the people who subscribe to
Oh,
my membership will see it first because
I gotta sign up
the
right
girls keep
now.
asking. The girls keep asking. It's coming. So sign up for the membership. Soon as it's done, you guys will get you'll get the first peek. And in the meantime, just put it in your cart on Audible, and you guys can start listening to it today.
Yes, start.
The first one.
And I want to say this too for the girls. She did all of this without social media. So the fact that we got social media now, y'all spoiled. Okay. She was modeling. She wasn't no Instagram model. Okay. She was really out there, really on these shows, and she did that without social media. So the fact that we got social media is like it's a hack. So we got to use the tools we have because somebody who can make it all happen without all that, That's a goat for real. That's a goat. All right, ladies. Well, that's all I have. I'm gonna let you go. And thank you again, Miss Baje. I will see you all soon. I'll see you guys tomorrow at the 8 a.m. class. And you all have a great day.
Bye,
Thank you
baddies.
so much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.